Welcome to Investing Uncomplicated for everyday investors, making your money in the market make sense. It's been a busy day. The Fed just made a move that caught everybody off guard. Nvidia hit a major milestone never been reached before. And there are three major catalysts that are lining up that could either crash the market or they can make you rich. But here's what most investors are missing. This isn't the time to panic. This is a time to prepare because the smartest money is already positioning for what's coming next. What's going on, guys? Look, I've been telling so many people that the stock market has more drama than your favorite reality show. And today is just another example. Really, this week is another example of how the market has been full of drama. I'm going to break down what has happened in the market, what happened today, what's going to happen the rest of the week, and what you need to be doing with your money to make sure that you are positioned to take advantage and even just to make sure that you're aware of what's going on. I'm going to start out with today. No, I'm going to start out with this week. This week, the market has been going absolutely crazy. We've had multiple days this week where the market has closed at all-time highs. This means that the market is the strongest that it has ever been. It means that if you wanted to invest in something like the S&P 500, an ETF, the price that you would pay to get into that investment is the highest that it has ever been in history. This is great if you have always, this is great if you've already been invested in the market because you're seeing your money grow exponentially. This could be a problem if you're just now wanting to enter the market because you're entering the market when prices are high. Overall, all investors, beginners, advanced traders, super wealthy, and people who just have started investing maybe with their first $100 should be happy because this is evidence that the market is healthy. It's also evidence that the market will continue to be strong. So continue to invest. Make sure that you are dollar cost averaging. So that's what's happened this week. Let me tell y'all what happened today. So every other month, the Federal Reserve meets and they make a decision on what to do with the interest rates. Okay, so they manage our monetary policy. Much of this year, the expectation has been that the Federal Reserve will lower rates, and they have for the last two meetings. We pretty much expected this to continue for the rest of the year. And the rest of the year, there are some major implications as we go into 2026. We wanted to see interest rates continue to get cut. We will also be getting a new Federal Reserve chair in 2026. So it's very well known that the president and the Federal Reserve chair are not the best of friends, okay? And so today, after the Federal Reserve meeting, or toward the end of the report, after they announced that they're cutting rates by 25 basis points, which is basically a quarter of percent, which is good, Jerome Powell, the chair of the Federal Reserve, dropped a little extra information that he normally doesn't drop. And what he said was, it is not a guarantee or a foregone conclusion that rates will be dropped again in December. Now, Jerome, typically the Federal Reserve chair, they're really cautious with their words because anything that they say can move the market. And Jerome has been very well aware of his power. He's very smart, has been a really good Federal Reserve chair during his two terms now. He has been very cautious with his words in the past, especially last year when a lot of the experts in the industry knew that we had to enter 2025 and cut rates. Even then, Jerome would be very hesitant, cautious, disciplined, even in the words that he would use, not to sell people a false bag of goods, not to overpromise. Because even he would say that nobody knows what's going to happen in the future, what could happen with inflation or jobs or anything else. So today, while announcing that the Fed will cut rates 25 basis points, for Jerome to add that it's not a foregone conclusion that rates will be cut in December, saying that as opposed to we'll see or we'll look at the data. Listen, you can't tell me that wasn't a little shade thrown not only at President Trump, but also thrown at the other Fed leadership who are trying to align themselves to be appointed as the next Fed chairman. Because we will get a new chairman next year, and there are people who currently lead some of the regional Federal Reserves that are on tap to get being more vocal in terms of their opposition to Jerome Powell's monetary policy, to the extent that we're starting to get dissension rulings from the chairman, which basically means they come out publicly and say that they don't agree with the action that has taken place. All right. So the rate cut we knew was going to happen. It's part of the reason why the market was so strong this week. But the little statement about there not being a foregone conclusion that rates will get cut in December, the market didn't handle it well, y'all. The market went from being up tremendously to actually being down. All right. So tomorrow and the rest of the week is going to be really interesting to see what the market does. Listen, I'm going to be talking more about this tomorrow. Thursdays, Sundays, I do a free beginners investing class. There's a link in the description for this video to register. We do it Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard. Sundays, we do it at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard. So for more information or on how to invest, or if you're a beginner and you want to get started, or how you can use these market conditions in your favor, make sure you register. But in terms of the rest of the week, it'll be interesting to see how the market responds, because we also have earnings from some really, really big names. Meta, Google, Amazon, Apple all report earnings. They either report it today or they report tomorrow after the market closes. These 4 or 5 companies make up about 50% of the S&P 500. So how they perform will absolutely drive what happens in the market. Okay, so if earnings are great for the majority of these companies, we'll see the market probably rebound from Jerome Powell's shadiness today. All right, and we can expect the market to continue to be strong. But if any two or multiple of these 5 companies that are reporting earnings have negative projections, they miss expectations or anything like that, we may see the market pull back a little bit. Earnings aren't the only big thing that's happening this week. The meeting isn't the only big meeting happening in the next week. There's also a meeting between the president of China and President Trump. We've seen a little bit of jockeying, maybe some negotiations taking place the last 2 weeks, when China came out and said that they're not going to make it easy for the rest of the world to get access to their rare earths that we use to make a lot of our products, a lot of our technology. All right. Trump responded by saying that the U.S. would respond with 100% tariffs. And the last thing our economy needed was more tariff talk. The market didn't like that on the Friday that it happened as well. So between these earnings, paired with the little shadiness from Jerome Powell, along with the looming meeting between the leader of China and the US, these things could absolutely be enough to cause a bigger pullback in the market, which if you are a value investor, you are desperately looking for. If you've been following me, if you're a part of my community, you've sat in on any of my classes, you know how big of a deal it is for us to get opportunities to buy stocks at a discount. So keep an eye on what's going to happen in the market for the next week. Listen, the other big news, we saw Nvidia just smash through the $200 price point this week after announcing a slew of partnerships. I saw an Instagram post that was like Nvidia is kind of like Oprah, like giving out partnerships, like you get a partnership, you get a partnership, you get a partnership. And they announced several. They announced partnerships with the U.S. Department of Energy. Market liked it. Nvidia became the first $5 trillion company, the first company with a $5 trillion market cap, which is really good news. If you own the stock, you're really happy. I am up 100% on shares that I purchased this year. So you know shares purchased in previous years are doing pretty good. Here's the thing about that, guys. I know people are like, oh, wow, Nvidia is over $200. The thing that I want you all to know is the best opportunity to invest in these companies is when there's no news, when it's quiet, when there's nobody talking about them. I'll say an even better time to invest in these companies is when there's bad news. Okay, there's been bad news, a couple bad stories related to Nvidia the last couple weeks, or I'm sorry, over the last year. There probably been two. Those were great buying opportunities. All right. Right now the stock is $208. It's cool to dollar cost average into it. Buy a little bit every month. All right. Buy a little bit every month. That's fine. I wouldn't take a lump sum and buy it in Nvidia right now. So great move. So lessons for the everyday investor. Watch over the next few days for a market pullback, maybe even a week. Let's see what happens between President Trump and the president of China. Let's see what comes out of that. Let's pay attention to the earnings that come out tomorrow. They were mixed today. Okay, the Mag 7 companies that reported today, the earnings were mixed. Let's see what happens tomorrow. Today, Meta's stock price actually dropped 9%. So to what I was saying earlier, we want to identify these pullbacks because these are investing opportunities. You want to invest when there is bad news. If you've been waiting on some bad news from a Magnificent Seven company, okay, the Magnificent Seven are tech companies that make up about 65% of the S&P 500, just 7 companies, okay? If you've been looking for good value to buy these companies, with what happened with Meta's earnings today, this could be a good opportunity for you to invest for the rest of the week. So if you're a beginner investor and you're looking for value, Meta has already gave you some good value. You can invest a little bit more in Meta this week. Let's watch what happens tomorrow after the close. Let's see what how the market responds to potentially not getting a rate cut in December. Let's see if there's a deal that can be agreed upon between China and Trump to make sure those relations are good. So for the everyday investor, just pay attention to the news, watch the market, buy the dips, and make sure you continue to dollar cost average. Look, watching the market right now is absolutely better than watching your favorite reality TV network because this right here, it actually makes you money. All right, y'all, stay tapped in. Look, we hit 13,000 subscribers on the channel, man. Y'all give it up for yourselves. Man, we appreciate the support. Thank you guys for tuning in. We have so much more to come with what we're doing in terms of helping everyday people build wealth in the stock market. I'm getting messages every day about people who've downloaded brokers and they've invested their first $100 and they started dollar cost averaging, and we're celebrating all of those achievements. We're all celebrating together. So listen, don't just watch this by yourself. Share this with somebody that you love. Make sure they subscribe, watch, tune in, and share it with somebody else that they love. More to come. Don't forget, Thursdays, Sundays, free beginners investing is in the bio. See you guys soon.